They're not elderly, but they're not young enough to draw full benefits from Social Security. And generally, their monthly food stamp amount is about $17. And they live off of about $600 a month. That's rent, utilities, and anything else they need. And they provide a meal, nutritional, education, and groceries to that group of people. And let's see, they do it at our office, so they're connected with the housing authority, and they also get food from here on campus, and then they repurpose it, and then they also do it at the Catholic Action Center, and there was one other place that she said they do it at. So they're bridging those areas together, and I think two of the ladies in the group said that they had participated in a community leadership development program. So I thought that was interesting. On page 63, there's a diagram of capitals, of the 7 capitals, and I was going to show how this other program that we have, I work at the Housing Authority, so we service a lot of low-income families, and I get to be a part of some bridging social capital. So for the built capital, I guess I should tell you about it. We have a house on Wilgus, which is on the east end of town. And the east end of town right now is going through a really big revitalization. They're trying to get rid of some of the crime, bring back the people that live there and keep them there. Because a lot of people, if you're born in the east end of town, you don't tend to stay there. So they're trying to get some retention with the youth and bring in businesses and things to that area. So, but there's also a really big homeless issue in that area. There's, I don't know if you all know this, but there isn't a place in Lexington where a homeless family can go. There's the Hope Center, which will take in the women and the children. Salvation Army will take in the women and the children. But the father, if there was a father in that family, he would actually have to go to the Hope Center because they don't house men at the Salvation Army with their families. So there's not a place where they can all go together. So through the house that we have on Wilgus, it was old, run down, dilapidated. It couldn't be housed anymore. So they were just going to tear it down, and it was just going to become another vacant lot in the East End, which if you've driven through there, there's already a lot of vacant lots, a lot of boarded houses. But with bridging social capital, the Housing Authority was able to connect with Kentucky Housing Corporation, which is the state financial institution for housing, to get a grant to remodel the house, which then with the Home Builders Association, of Lexington agreed to remodel the home and they have a youth build program where they teach at-risk teenagers from the juvenile detention center how to do a trade like carpentry, and in this case build a house. So they're actually going to be the ones that are in charge and are actually going to remodel the home. And then, so that would be where the natural capital came from. The human capital. Then the natural capital is going to come back into revitalizing the community, because there's an agency called, I think it's East End Revitalization Project, and they're working really hard to restore the area. So that would be the natural aspect. And then the city is going to pay rent for that family for an entire year, so that the family that is housed in that home will actually be there rent-free for a year. And that is actually the political capital that's being bridged in that situation. And then they're also going to receive supportive services while they're there, so that at the end of the year, they'll actually be able to live self-sufficiently without assistance and be able to go back out into the community. So by bridging all those agencies together, we're able to solve a shared concern in the community, which is housing homeless families. So I thought that was really neat to actually be able to see the study and how bridging social capital together actually works. Because you read about it, it's one thing, but to actually see it in the community is a completely different thing. So for me, that was like seeing the words come off the page. And that was basically the gist of the chapter for work that I got, was that by completing a community leadership development program, you're able to, you become more active in an organization. You actually join that organization, you actually get involved and take on a leadership role, and you're more willing to engage in different capitals or different organizations that do different things, where some of us may have one area of interest, but there's other areas that you can tie into. There was a couple critiques that the book found about the study, and it was that the shift between the college age group and the older age group really wasn't that big. And their explanation was because they're probably already engaged in organizations, or because most college students already have stuff going on, whether it's through service groups or classes, and then the older people are already involved. I thought it was a legitimate answer, but also I found issue with the way that they measured the study, because quantity for me doesn't necessarily equal success. I mean, you can be involved in a million different agencies, or organizations, and be a leader in those organizations, but if you're not really affecting change in all of them, then you're really not serving the purpose. So saying that the participant that completed the leadership development, that was only involved in one program, but really went hard in that one program, didn't grow or didn't show any change, and saying that wasn't necessarily successful, I found an issue with that. So that was my summary of that chapter. Questions? You can clap.
You can clap, yeah.
Yeah, so what questions do you have for Dana in terms of, say again, I was trying to follow, the criticism that they said of this study was about the youth, say that again, I was trying to.
I found that there wasn't a real big shift between college-age students and then older people in the community and people that had been in the community for a while. The reason for college students not having a big shift and going, once they graduated from the community leadership program, they really didn't go out and join additional organizations or become leaders in those organizations, that they were probably already involved in those organizations. Plus, they only got to choose 3. So if you were already in 3 when you started the program, maybe you were already a leader in it, so there was an area to change.
Right.
And then it was the same with the older people. I think they described them as elderly.
So there's no difference between the college age and the older people?
The college students didn't show any change or growth after the community leadership program. It was very minimal. And then it was the same on the other end of the spectrum with elderly people. There was minimal growth or change as far as their participation in community organizations after the community leadership programs. But they said it was probably because the older people were probably already involved in their community and already doing things, and same with the college students because they were already there. And they found the same thing with people that lived in the community for a long time. They really didn't have any change because they had already been there, so they were probably already involved.
Right. So did I understand you right to say you questioned that? Or not?
I do, because, well,
I kind of do too, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
just because I don't change, maybe I was already growing, I was already in the leadership development role, but maybe I'm just more effective in it. And just because I didn't do something different when I finished the leadership program doesn't mean that I didn't take anything away from it, or that there wasn't an area that I improved in.
Right.
I think my biggest criticism is their measurement system, that you had to increase the things that you did. I couldn't just improve where I was.
And there was a limit of 3.
Yes, and there was only 3.
Okay.
And I don't think quantity is a good measuring stick, because I'd rather have one person that was dedicated and went hard in this one area with this one organization that was a leader that helped branch out, rather than have somebody that's involved in 7 or 8 different things all at once and is not able to give a full focus to anything.
What are the questions?
I like how she related it to like a real life situation.
Yeah, it was a lot easier.
It was a lot easier to understand it that way, I think.
And it's, yeah, I did too. I like that example.
thing I didn't find the cultural tie there, but I'm sure there is, but we haven't tapped it yet. That's our area for improvement there. But it is a really good program because a family will be able, from what I've seen, I've worked here for 14 years, homelessness is, sometimes some people actually make that conscious choice, but for some people it's a struggle every day. You have to make choices, and at some point they made a choice that cost them everything else. So just to give them a home and say, here you go, you're not homeless anymore, that's not the answer, because they've had that before, but they need those extra things to help them get there and stay there. So they'll receive a year's worth of rent, plus they'll receive supportive services to become financially stable. Whatever the emotional issues that were there, they help cause that. I think it's really important that you get the whole, instead of just the one thing.
So, yeah, I don't know why, but as I was listening, I thought about baseball. And if you focused on the housing alone, you'd be like, you hit a single. And if you focused on housing and financial, you hit a double. And if you focus on housing and financial, I mean, and all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, you can hit a home run or more. But a lot of times people just go into it with like this little narrow blinder focus. And what they were able to do is take a project and then multiply its impact in all these different capillaries. I thought you did a good job of describing that.
And on the right side, the city agreed that if it works out, that they'll continue it with the next family that comes out.
That would sort of be like culture.
Good answer.
Say that again?
That sort of be like culture, like they keep on redoing the generations.
There you go.
That's great.
To get all the chemicals in there. Yeah. Good job, thank you.
There you go.
So, oh, good. Thank you. Good. So, kind of along that same thought of single focus, there's an initiative out that is called Collective Impact. Do you remember that from last semester? Can you describe collective impact?
I don't think it was a very accurate definition of it, but I think it's different aspects of the community kind of come together to fix one area and stuff.
Yeah, can you hear that? So, yeah, that's right. So collective impact is an approach or kind of a philosophy of community development that's gaining a lot of kind of credibility. And basically it's saying that historically there are a lot of organizations like a housing organization or a homeless shelter. And the homeless shelter says, we want to combat homelessness, and so we're going to create a shelter. And that's like a one-check deal. Although, homelessness is a bigger issue than just building a shelter can address. And so what it's saying is that actually the way that a lot of nonprofit and service organizations exist is that they're out to combat these huge issues, but they don't have the necessary resources or capacity to really affect a broad-scale, sustainable community change. And so the collective impact approach is saying that what we need to do is start community change initiatives that include the homeless shelter, that include the bank, that include the schools for education, or the food bank or shelf, or food, some kind of food service to make sure people are fed and have water, that include, I don't know about natural, but multiple elements or systems so that they can start to look at how do we each talk about what it is that we provide, our mission and our resources. We can identify goals, and the goals of each of these are going to contribute to homelessness, some element of it. It doesn't have to be homelessness. It might be education. It might be, could be any poverty. It could be any issue that a community is addressing. But the school says, well, this is what we have and what we can do, and to measure, this is how we're going to measure it. The hospital says this is what we have and what we do and what we're going to measure toward our efforts to address homelessness. The bank, the homeless shelter, the nonprofit, the United Way, all start to identify what their strengths and resources are and how they might work together to start to tackle and share resources to start to, what they say, move the needle on addressing what is really a huge, wicked issue. So, if you're interested in kind of some background on that, Collective Impact is a good read, and kind of an emerging approach or understanding of a way to address community development. Okay, good job, Dean. What I want to do.
Bridging has a G in it.
What's that?
Bridging has a G in it.
It does, but
It does.
it's hidden. It's hidden. It is so hard to write in front of everybody because you're just
I
like.
promise you I can spell bridging.
If you weren't here last class, we are trying to, we're working on a modified consensus process. Modified consensus is a decision-making process where it's iterative. You go back, you change it, you vote on it. What we're trying to do is find the best solution. So this is a voting, 5 hands is the best solution ever. 4, it's a great solution. 3, it's a good solution. 2, it's, acceptable. 1 is, it's okay, but I have maybe some reservations, and you might speak to that. And 0 says, no, it is not okay. I don't agree at all. And I have a recommendation or suggestion to make it different. So this is what I've done so far. We need to get this cranked out, and we need an introductory kind of paragraph or frame of what this is. So I quickly said the Leadership Winchester Clark County program is working with the University of Kentucky Department of Community Leadership Development, Community Leadership class, to develop ideas for updating the program. This questionnaire is designed for the supporters of Leadership Winchester Clark County to learn more about your hopes for the program. Stemming from what we learned from this questionnaire, the class will develop program ideas for future leadership development classes. Thank you in advance for sharing. Is there something that we should add, edit, change, or improve? Because, we need to be able to let the person taking the questionnaire get a sense of what is it that we're about. If not, let's go on. This is what we talked about last class. We said we wanted the organization they represent. We wanted to ask whether they were a chamber member and whether or not they participated in the class before, and if so, when. I think we talked about that. I might have edited that a little bit. But to get an idea. I started to kind of try to tease these into areas. And so I took the questions that we had and started to move them into these areas. So one then says, the question was, do you support Leadership Winchester Clark County? Why or why not? And I think we talked about that last time and edited that. I think this one still is, I don't know that we, do you guys remember, was that one that we agreed on last time? That was good? Okay. Okay, and then we got here, and this is where I think it starts to change. These aren't my ideas. These are when Leadership Winchester Clark County gave us their sessions, 1 through 8. These are the titles of their sessions. So, we know that these are the areas that they've already, or historically at least, identified as area of kind of community systems that they want to learn more about. So what I did actually, do you have a question, Samson? Oh, question? Yeah, thought?
Never mind.
Well, I tried to, we can do this however we want, but I tried to start merging several ideas of questions that you guys have proposed into like multiple questions around each area. So currently, they focus on these aspects. Please share your ideas for, and potential speakers, topics they'd like to see included in education, and project ideas. What project ideas do you have? And that's a merging of really the question of what issues do we have, or what topics do we need to talk about? I didn't eliminate those questions. They're still here, but I wanted for us to talk about them. So what I did based on the categories of each of the sessions is ask those questions of, do you have suggestions for potential speakers? Do you have key topics you'd like to see included? And are there project ideas that relate to those areas? So, and these are the questions that I was trying to merge into those. You'd asked about speakers' weaknesses, strengths, issues. So if we were to vote on this, let's do a 1 through 5, because what I'm trying to do is actually condense our survey down so that it isn't multiple pages long. On a 1 through 5, yay, nay, how do you feel about putting it into this format and asking these questions? Is that a question?
Yeah, I like it, but I just feel like if somebody was gonna see, all this to write about, they're not gonna wanna write about it.
So just this question, you mean?
Yeah, the whole.
That's too much?
Yeah, but I do like, maybe ask, you could send out different letters with one of them would be local government, one of them would be economic development, but then that would kind of be a hassle too.
Yeah, they might be able to
You know what I
choose
mean?
one area.
Yeah.
And answer, or two, or.
Maybe choose one.
Yes, there's one question that's a whole page.
Yeah, just send them randomly, with a survey that says local government and education, and then on the next one it would be economic development, and then just send them out so that you're not having everybody answer each one. You know what I mean?
So how would you then go through, I'm just thinking through the logistics of that. How would the chamber coordinator decide who gets which one, or would it not
Or
happen?
random. Yeah,
Oh.
just fold them, put them in envelopes, send them. Just
And-
randomly.
Okay.
All the same questions previously, but just with this specific section.
Okay.
Yeah, just like one or two of these topics, instead of all 5, 6, 7, 7.
Yeah, because once people see a long
Yeah.
survey, they're just not gonna wanna do it.
Right. And so one option to that is, have you taken the Qualtrics online survey? You don't see how long it is because it's one page at a time. So that might be an option, but, okay, duly noted, yes.
An idea for what she's saying, because I think it's a lot. Also, what if you listed all of them and had them pick maybe not list it like this, so it's a little bit less overwhelming, but had them pick the two they think are the most important and then talk about those. And then that way we also kind of get a feel for what they think is important. And also, if I were to get this, I would be very confused.
Yeah, this isn't the final version yet. but-
Yeah, it's just I would get really mixed up, I think, between I don't know all the sections, but kind of dividing those out, especially if they haven't taken the course or maybe they don't know a lot about the course. We would have to assume that they wouldn't necessarily know what the education day is or what economic development day is if they don't know those areas.
And then with like the 3 examples underneath each area, kind of framing those more. So like, if I was just like random person in Clark County taking this questionnaire, I wouldn't have no idea what my project idea is. So putting a sentence before that's like, part of a component of this class is that we split up into groups and we do projects to benefit the community. What are some projects that you can see involving specifically the area of local government or education? Just to kind of frame it more so that people can really understand what we're talking about.
That's good, and necessary.
And same thing with the 2 above it. So like, a necessary part of the program is speakers coming in to talk about this topic. Is there anyone you would suggest?
Are these gonna be mailed out or are they gonna be like computer?
That has not yet been determined.
Okay.
It really kind of depends on, I think probably computer. And the reason I say that is because I don't know how much the chamber wants to invest in. They
Right.
haven't seen the survey yet, so once they see the survey, we could say, are you willing to, make copies and mail these out? And maybe they will. Or another option is we could computerize it, get their email addresses and send it out by email. And probably have her send a link to it with a letter, because it's gotta come from her. It's gotta come from Winchester, Clark County, instead of from some department at UK.
And I guess that also goes with like generations too, because, the older generation, they're not gonna be computer literate or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, seriously though,
No, well,
I mean, it
there's that's a huge deal with collecting data is
Yeah.
the format you use. And do people have computers?
Right.
Does everybody that you hope is taking this have access to email or have an account?
And most people tend to do surveys online versus filling them out, because if they mail them, that means they have to get them back to them some way.
Right, and we had to
Right.
put an envelope.
Or they walk
return
around
envelope
Okay, so we're also doing business retention and expansion work, in which case what happens is you hand the survey to the chamber director and the chamber and say, this is a survey. What we recommend is that you guys on the chamber each take 10 households or 5 households and walk around and ask questions and fill it out and say, we're here on behalf of the chamber, we're looking at improving our leadership program, and so, we want to look at, no, you're good. So there are many ways that we could do this to be able to affect that, to get results. So, we've kind of wandered though, and so could you share, framing the projects, the group projects? Thank
And
you.
then same with like the different areas, like scrolling down farther into this, like quality of life and then community, human needs. Just giving examples, because I think the average citizen wouldn't have a full idea of what exactly we mean by those, because I don't know exactly what we mean by those for writing this survey.
Well, and that's not our language. That's their program. We took those category headers from, if you remember what I handed out about the leadership Winchester, Clark County. I think I've got an example here. They're divided into 8 sections. This section is Economic Development Day. And so, it's based on their current agenda, not what we are saying each of these is. Okay. So we've had a lot of suggestions to reframe this. I think this framing the group project and saying more about it, especially for people that are taking this that haven't been through it, is absolutely necessary, and describing what those topic days are. to me, potential speakers, I know a lot of people that speak. What is it that your goals are? What are you hoping to achieve? To me, we still haven't tapped into the base question of what do you want out of this program? But this is a way to get more information around each of the topic areas. So again, I'm trying to just draw from what we've talked about. I do think, though, that at the heart of this, and I'm looking for where our original questions are kind of scattered throughout here. We did ask, number one, sorry, it's long because it's got all of our ideas kind of thrown in there. Why or why don't you support Leadership Winchester County? An alternate to that would be to say, why do you believe this is important? Or
That sort of gets at the nose.
somehow at the heart of this, the question is, why is Winchester, Clark County, Leadership Winchester, Clark County important enough that you would spend $500 to get your employee to this and through this, or let kids miss school because you probably catch a lot of flack from their teachers, or support the time and energy and resources or the dollars, or why is the chamber, when you could be out doing more business development work, why are you wasting your time on leadership development? I mean, it's 8 sessions, and they're driving all over, they're doing all kinds of stuff, it takes a coordinator. It's a hassle. So somehow we need to know, and the answer is going to be different from different people, but we need to know from Winchester, Clark County, what's important to you about having this program? So, do you have a
Yeah, I just have a question that's kind of like branched off that. Why are they doing it during the week? Why don't they do it, I mean, I guess go visit these places, but why don't they do it on Saturday so that people don't have to miss work? And I don't know. Why is that, do you know?
I do. What's that?
Because like, you're not gonna get somebody at a company, hey, you need to go do this on a Saturday, like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
That's exactly what.
That's why they get it on. Because I get to miss work, and I get paid for it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess that
But
makes
you're not,
sense.
don't mess with my weekends. And the youth, and yeah, that's why, is that that's the time that the youth are in class and the business is in session, and they can say, we're willing to take some of our business time to let you go through this program. But people, I think either they're afraid or they've found that people won't sign up and show up on Saturdays, for 8 Saturdays, so. Okay, so, let's go back to our process. Early on, or at least as a foundational question, we've got to know why people in Clark County support a leadership program. Is that first half the right question to ask? Give me a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 block. What do you think? Got a 2 and a 4 and a 1. Is that a 2? Sorry, I was thinking like that. So, okay. So, just as a comparative, what about this question that's highlighted? How would you rate that? It rates higher. Okay, so this is maybe a better way to ask it. You just told me that. Okay. Are there other questions, caveats, or some other way something else that needs to be there?
Maybe we asking them like generally how they could improve it, like which one of these little areas do they want the most focus on? Like local government or community needs or,
Can we go back to the one we were just on before we go down?
This one?
I
Yeah.
don't like the second part of that, what skills should a participant develop? Because we're just implying that they should only develop skills in the program.
yeah,
Maybe what outcomes or what would we expect the participants to develop? Because we're telling them, okay, so they're gonna get skills, what skills would you like to see? We're not saying that they're gonna be able to do anything else. We're not gonna have, maybe what expectations do you have for a participant when they complete the program? So I just don't like that it limits them to just skills.
So what, say it again?
Didn't we change this from,
I think
we
the
did.
characteristics.
it said characteristics and then skills, and we dropped it to skills.
We
Well,
do,
walking
we
and
did.
skills. We did the same thing with the other person.
Where is it? You see it here? We did change it. I see it, Carrie, hang on. I don't see it though. I didn't think,
We edited it to a final version last class, or to the current version of this class.
It's on number one.
Okay, so maybe I gave it a logo up last time. But in the modified consensus, I'm only one vote, so if everybody else is fine with it, I'm fine to go on to the next part. It's not-
no, this is all draft, and I'm sorry that got lost, because I don't see where it was.
But it was characteristics and skills.
It
I didn't like
was.
characteristics and skills, but I don't like just skills either. But if
Okay.
everybody else is fine, I'm fine with that.
But I agree too that like there's more than skills, but it's not necessarily characteristics, whether that's like developing relationships with the organizations in the county, that might be a thing, but that's not really a skill or a characteristic.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not sure how to word it. But I agree with that one.
I thought when the girls came, she said they didn't really build any skills. Remember we asked her about it, she said it wasn't really a skill building thing.
She did. Yeah, she did. She said we'd like to do more, but that was her saying that. So what we wanted to do is say, well, can we ask in a survey what others, so you're right. The first question could be, is skill development an important part of this program? And if so, what?
So one of the things we want to know is what they expect the participant to achieve or be able to do after. Why don't we just ask them? What do you expect to see? What do you expect the participant to, I don't want to say to have learned or to have gained or what expectations do you have of a participant after the leadership program?
Does this cover it? No, it doesn't quite say it though, does it?
Are you getting at maybe like what the purpose of it is? Like if we ask people that, would that be a better?
Yes.
What they believe the purpose of the program is or what it should be?
Yes. I think that could be right up front.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking about the rest of it.
Is that a different question than why do you believe it's important?
I think so.
Um,
I also have another question.
So yeah, we didn't get back to your original question, did we? Or did you have another?
Oh, mine was about, I think it's important to change the wording from supports to why is leadership Winchester Park County important, but I think we should still have the like, do you believe it's important, why or why not? Just so it's not like a leading question, having an assumption that like everyone thinks it's important type of thing.
So so say that again.
So
Instead of
how
why
we
do you
had it-
believe?
How we had it, like, do you support leadership Winchester, Clark County, and then why or why not? I think we should do you believe, this program is important, why or why not? If that makes sense. So move that why to like,
Right, okay.
just so it's not like making an assumption that they think it's important, because they may not.
Samson, are you a fast typer? That's all right, I can do this. All right, we're making some changes here, so, let's back up. How are we on this? Do we have, is that the best first question? Maybe, well, what's the purpose of the program?
I feel like, well, I feel like it's almost too open-ended if I was to get, like, if I was